fall of the Qing Empire sparked a brutal power struggle across China, where warlords carved out their own fiefdoms, some fighting tooth and nail for control of Beijing. In the east and south, a quiet revolution was brewing. A man named the Smiling Tiger would rise from the ashes of failed alliances to rule over 8 provinces. This is Kaiserredux A to Z, where we'll be playing as Anqing. Anqing is a very poor Chinese warlord and doesn't stand much of a chance. Alright, so first we got to play the League of 8 Provinces to actually get to Anqing. So yeah, we actually started off pretty big, but we're not going to stay like this for long. People are angry that the Germans have just controlled some of our railways. There we go, the nations broke free. Anqing, citing the recent incident of Wuhu's governor Chen Tiuan, has issued a ultimatum calling for the withdrawal of all non-provisional forces from Anhui. Okay then, so we're just going to join Governor Chen. So a little man named Chen would greet me on the next screen who may be addicted to a few little poppies in Flanders Field. We'd have to fight for our very life against the Chinese communists in the south and then the League of 8 Provinces who doesn't want us to exist. So I decided to invade Shandong before they invaded me, and I was unprepared. So I would divert most of my forces up north to deal with them. However, the southern front with the communists would be rather empty, and the French, well, the French send a lot of light tanks and I could barely hold, but in the end we managed to push up to Shandong. We managed to capitulate Shandong, and then I could move my forces down south where we'll easily be able to move along the coast and capitulate the Chinese communists. 5 provinces together again. We're known as the League of Southeast Provinces. Anqing is victorious. The green version of what we started with, albeit smaller, can now do our army reform. So I decided to attack both Hunan and Luangwang while they were distracted and they were weak. They hadn't built up their army yet. The economy was still poor, like mine, but I have skill. They don't have skill. So taking out Hunan was rather a piece of cake. Liangwang was a different story. They actually had a lot of units in the capital. We were running out of equipment rapidly because the amount of garrisons we needed was getting ridiculous. It was also no joke. I had a lot of debuffs as this nation. I'll flick through them quickly to show you how bad it really was. And every now and then we'd also get events about resistance cells and our army being partly destroyed by the KMT or something like that. We'd have debuffs coming through like every couple of months. It wasn't nice, and this just continued on for years because I had no idea how to get rid of them. I attempted to send ultimatums to Yunnan and Sichuan, hoping that they'd accept to become my puppet. But unfortunately they had refused, so I decided to send an ultimatum to the Qing Empire. They didn't have many divisions, they were kind of weak, and if I could take enough land and consolidate and get their industry, I might be able to pump out more of an army to actually fight them. So it was a very risky move of mine, and this would have to be a quick conquest because the garrison situation, the resistance on a whole is getting worse. We don't call any of this land, apart from the Qing land obviously. We don't call any of the land we just conquered like Hunan and Liangwang. Fortunately, the conflict didn't go as swift as I had liked it to. In fact, the Qing pushed us all the way back to Nanjing and where we would hold out. Eventually, we were able to actually start pushing back and getting through encirclements. We managed to encircle most of the Qing army and we could push up to Beijing quite easily, but this front, it was a hot mess and there was no tactics here, really, at all. So the Mongolians aligned with the Tibetans decided to attack Sichuan. Now, I wanted a piece of the pie, so I got involved, and yeah, we declared war on Sichuan. It's somewhat equally. I took the east parts of Sichuan, Mongolia took the west. I focused my attention on Manchuria since, well, they did start justifying on me. We also got Shaanxi as a puppet because they accepted our demands, luckily. So the Manchurians, or rather the Fengtiangs, decided to declare war on me. Now, we could push because I had artillery in my divisions. I also had engineer companies, so we could build up entrenchment, and the initial offensive went quite successful, until the Manchurians launched a counterattack and I had to quickly retreat back to my old positions, trying not to lose any of my armies in their attempted encirclements. And once my army regrouped, I once again were able to push, and we could take out Manchuria, but unfortunately the Japanese would get involved, which would prolong this conflict for quite a number of years. So all I needed to do was build up some form of defensive line which the Japanese could push through, so just an org wall. I had to defend my ports so I wouldn't constantly be naval invaded by the Japanese. I ended up having quite a lot of divisions eventually to prevent that invasions. And yeah, what I do here is just economy simulator. I just slowly build up more military factories over time, and then make my eventual offensive into Korea. This mod has a mechanic in which if China manages to push Japan out of all of its Chinese mainland territories, including to Korea, you can actually peace out with them. And that is what I did. Okay, that's about to be Busan. Hopefully we get a Japanese surrender event. There we go. Okay, they released Anhui Clique and Tibet. So the Russians to my west, they at one point invaded Mongolia and then created this rival Japanese government. So that's obviously going to be a problem for us since, you know, we're the real Republic of China, of course. Not them, Liangguang. Liangguang, what's that? I've never heard of it. Time to go after the legislation. Time to go after the legation cities. Yes, I called the legation cities legislation cities. But yeah, the legislation cities, as I call them, they're part of the Entente faction, so Canada's faction. Canada's faction doesn't have any nation nearby, so I'm completely fine to take legislation cities, and eventually I'll peace out with Canada and their stupid clown car in like 150 days. Apparently in 100 days I might get a peace treaty with the Westerners or something. What's Japan asked for peace? Let them keep their pathetic home islands, yes. I don't know why Korea went to Yunnan, but it did, so yeah. Ah yes, Yunnan, the liberator of Korea. It did absolutely nothing. In fact, it didn't even touch that country at all, but they got the land. Kaiserredux devs. How is this coded exactly? Does this just go to whoever has the most war score? Because I'm pretty sure I did a lot more than Yunnan did. Why did Korea actually go to Yunnan? Like, that is pretty strange, I'm not gonna lie. Like, they did nothing there. It all went to them. Not that it really mattered in the end, since we took out Yunnan like a few months after this conflict, since they were already exhausted. They were busy fighting the Japanese faction for like the past I don't know how many years. So I created a Korean puppet. They didn't really amount to that much, to be honest, once I created them. They were just more there for aesthetic reasons. All we had to do now was obviously take out the rival government to our west. Russia was already at war with the International, which gave us a good footing to just go in and take our territory. Since, well, the Anhui doesn't have much divisions, and there's nothing really on our border anyway. The initial offensive was rather successful until we got stalled out like halfway through China, where there's just no supply. Siberia, there's no supply. But we distracted a lot of the Russian divisions, which gave the International a good chance to push west and take Russia out. Because obviously the Russians haven't got really that many divisions to hold both me and the International. And so Russia was divided from west on the International and east Anhui China, where we would have a authoritarian democracy. We'd set up a Siberian puppet, we'd have Kazakhstan, we'd have Turkestan, a few other puppets, and then Tianyong proclaims Republic of China. Few things are certain in the twisting labyrinth of Chinese politics, but even renowned political analysis ultimately failed to predict the rise of Chen Tianyong from the outlying provinces of China to the leader of the nation. Nevertheless, he's done it. Alright, the rest of China will soon be ours. But yeah, I think this is where I'm going to leave it. It's been a very, very short one, this one, but I mean, it's Anqing. They didn't really have much to really talk about. It's not really one of those paths which are more up to date. Like, if you go into Anqing's path in Kaiserredux right now, as of the day I've recorded this, there's not entirely much there. There's not even a path. It's just like ally with China, ally with Japan, go your own way, I suppose. It's been fun. Conquering China's always been fun. Its playthroughs turned out actually kind of perfect, which I'm kind of happy about, since we've not really had all too many playthroughs recently go perfectly. As a side video, I think I will do Black Ice China. What's put me off is the fact that I literally couldn't get the mod to load, but I found that I can load the Black Ice test mod, which I will use now because I've managed to get that one to work. And I kind of forgot it also existed. So yeah, that might be the next video or the video after. Either way, it's going to come soon. So yeah, let me know if you've enjoyed this video. And if you have, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, we're going to try to survive against the Japanese Empire.